What is going on, everybody? Welcome in. It is episode 8. Cannot believe, man, it is already episode 8. Welcome to the Model Mindset. As always, you got John here, you got Brian there, and we are ready to talk about a really unique subject today. Something that we've kind of jumped on a little bit as we've been working more and more through our projects together and separately, and that's fear.
That's going to be a good one.
And spooky season's over, but we're talking about
That's right.
So, all right, so let's get into this real quick, BG. First off, man, How are you? How's everything going? You're feeling good? Your congestion sounds a little bit better now. So
yeah, man, the damn sinus infection, man, killed me for a couple of days, but I'm feeling good, and I got that belief system where I don't get sick, and for some reason I was sick for like 3 days. But
there you go.
Excited about to talk about fear. I think it's only fitting to talk about fear because when we were talking with Tim, he talked about how fear was really huge in his younger years. Yeah. And now it's like you turn that on his head, or he embraces that fear. So I think it's only fitting that we talk about fear and how, we are trying to get over fear because it's still in our lives. Talk about how the areas that we really struggle on when it comes to fear, and then maybe just talk about ways that we have been able to get over that fear.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And it's in fear is so unique too, because listen, guys, everybody has fear in their life, whether you realize it or you don't. Everybody has fear in their life. You could have so many life experiences. You could have, a position at work or an occupation or a job that requires you to have this sense of bravery or whatever it may be, but you still have fear and you still have this in your life that you're overcoming it daily. You know what I mean? It's subconsciously in the back of your mind, and it's there. So, fear has been something that I know you and I, BG, have been talking about a lot the last 3 or 4 or 5 months, because it's something that, in our projects we're working together with and in what we're doing, working towards and changing our mindsets and how we're working and how our day's developing, we're finding things still that, we're worrying about, whether it's
constantly,
you know what I mean? Like, right. We talk about it all the time. Like, okay, are we working too much on certain things and not focusing enough on other things? Are we not moving at a fast enough pace in order to succeed the way we want to succeed? Are we coming across a lot of times, and this was a good conversation we were having earlier, man, are we coming across as these know-it-alls who have all these answers, or are we hitting our spot how we're trying to sound, where it's, no, we're just two guys talking about what works for us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What we've learned, right? You know what I mean? So there's so much fear, man. There's so much
and
that
John,
goes
too. Yeah, and what's important too, man, is this podcast. We could have just talked about it and never actually took action, because let's be real, there was part of it that was fear based.
Oh my God, yeah.
I was very apprehensive. When we both were like, "Hey, you want to do a podcast?" I was like, "Yeah, I do," but that fear goes in, and the biggest fear element for me, man, was, what are people going to think?
Yeah.
I always, for some reason, man, and it's still to this day, even when I started the Extraordinary Man Project, I was overtaken with, what are people going to think? Are people going to think that I'm stupid? Are people going to think that I'm a joke?
But are you full of shit? Like, that was one of mine. Like, are you?
Yeah.
Who are you kidding? You know what I mean? Like, if people haven't talked to you in a while, you're just full of shit. You're just saying this because the camera and the microphone's in front of you. It's like, nah, like, things have changed,
Yeah. And that's the thing, man, is it's when you said things have changed, it's my perspective. It's that I now feel that I have meaning and purpose in my life, which is to help others. And when I'm taking action little by little to stand by that purpose of helping others, I feel more confident, not only say with the podcast, but with the Extraordinary Man Project, because I know that I can help people in any facet of their life where they're struggling.
Right.
So it's helping me get over that fear. And you know what? I appreciate you and Josh, from the men's support group about a month ago, man. You guys challenged me and said, "Hey, go on Instagram Live, man, because you have some great coaching principles that you could share with everyone on Instagram. And man, as soon as you guys said that, first of all, I appreciated it. But second of all, I was like, shit, fear kicked in right away. And I'm like, I need to first A, prepare, and then B, I want to make sure that I do follow through. Like, you guys are making sure you're holding me accountable, which is huge.
Right. So, let me ask you this now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, dude.
Sure.
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
So I want to ask you, because while we're on it, like, so was that fear for IG Live? Was that based a lot of like you were afraid on how you would be perceived, like for the people who were watching or saw it afterward, whatever it may be, or was there more of like because you weren't too familiar with how to use IG Live either? So like, was there like a lack of familiarity with the product too, on top of the way you'd be viewed?
Honestly, with the technology aspect of it, I don't give a shit about that.
Okay, so you're good about that.
If I effed up, if I get effed up, whatever. It was more of how I'd be perceived. And the thing too is like, it's man, and this is sounding so petty, but it's my friends, man. Yeah. Like, it's my friends, I got a lot of close friends, and for a long time, man, even like in high school and stuff, I've always been very good at taking jokes, and I joke with everybody. It's just kind of like what I do.
Right.
But this side is like where I'm really trying to make an impact on the world and make an impact with people, man. And like, I want to be taken serious because like, I legitimately care, like deep down inside of my heart, that I can help people. Right. And so this is super vulnerable with me doing this stuff, and me kind of promoting stuff. And I know it's kind of outside of the typical Brian that people see, especially with my friends, but it's like a new chapter in my life where it's like, man, a lot of my friends have said, hey, you're a great listener. You ask a ton of questions, and it's like, now it's time to do more with that gift.
Right. Yeah. And I think, I don't want to speak for you, but it's almost like and correct me if I'm wrong. So like you said, you can take a joke, right? And you make the jokes and all that stuff like that. But when you're passionate about something like this, and it's scary to you, you have a fear about it, you almost would take the joke, even though it's lighthearted and still could be surrounded by support, you would still take the joke as a negative and something that where they're not taking you serious. And that's gonna make you feel like, like you got belittled a little bit. And that's where like, it's funny. It's such like a sensitive, like, personality trait almost that you get developed within yourself when this kind of stuff happens. You know what I mean? Like, you're putting yourself out there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you and I both, I think, can safely say we don't take each other or ourselves too seriously. You know what I mean? Like we're lighthearted dudes, right? You know what I mean? Like, but like when it's something like that and it's something you're passionate about, like you just want support. No, just give me support. Like, please, like in your mind, like that's how you're feeling about people around you. You know what I mean? So like, I'm still waiting for that first like joking comment about someone about the podcast, like saying some funny shit. You know what I mean? Like just saying some like sideways remark, but like trying to be funny. And I'm like reminding myself, like, all right, don't take it too personal. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
you got to take it with a grain of salt.
It is what it is, right? So, it's just funny.
They listen in, so it's all that matters.
Right? Yeah, but like, but you can develop that shit. Like that stuff develops within you. You know what I mean? So, and fear can develop within you. You know what I mean? Like with anything, and we're getting more comfortable on here now. So I think the fear of doing this has gone away. You know what I mean? Like. And how quickly we're moving through these and planning, and we have a good system now. So I think our system has replaced our fear. We have faith in our system. We have faith in our prep, and then that took the fear factor away from it. Okay. Yeah. But you're going to IG Live. You know what I mean? Like we usually record on a Wednesday night. It's Saturday night. My dumb ass is on a ferry right now in the middle of Long Island Sound. We had some stuff come up this week, but we had to switch some stuff around. But like. So, you're going on IG Live tomorrow night on Sunday. Right. So when you guys hear this, it'll be the night before. He should be pumped because it's going to be fantastic.
Thank you.
So, but like that fear though is like right now, like are you feeling it heightened as you're getting closer now? Like it's tomorrow night. You know what I mean? So like, are you getting more confident or are you getting more fearful? Like how is your fear working for you right now?
Right now, I feel good. I'm actually very excited, and the reason
Yeah.
why I'm very excited is because I'm prepared,
Yep.
and I think anytime you are prepared, any kind of nervousness is subsided a little bit.
Yep.
There definitely will still be some nerves, but also like I'll be real with sharing it with Val, you, and Josh. I know I got something. Like you
Yeah.
know what I'm going to share
No, you do. You
tomorrow.
do.
I know I have something that is going to be extremely valuable to people, and I've applied to my life, and it's been extremely successful. So I'm more excited. I'm not
Yeah.
fearful. I'll be nervous because it's it's something new, but I'm
Yeah.
more excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, man. That's awesome. You
Yeah,
should be.
and enough about me, man. But let me ask you this. And
All right.
so I noticed that a lot of my fear stems from the perception of others, which, as you
Yes.
know, we can't control that.
Right.
For you, have you noticed that there is like where does most of your fear come from?
And a lot of it is that. A lot of it is perception of others, and that's only up until recently.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can tell you very confidently, and I guess I'm lucky to have that. I never gave a shit what anyone thought about me. I just didn't, and because I knew who I was. I knew I was a good person. I knew the people I surrounded myself with were good people. So I was like, you know what, I don't got to worry about any outside noise or whatever like that. But now with kind of branching out a little bit, going for and trying to apply myself to a new career path, something I'm passionate about and something I feel like I have knowledge in, but also something I know I don't have a lot of like scholastic knowledge in. You know what I mean? Like nothing like
Right.
book knowledge. You know what I mean? Like I know what I've applied in my life and things I've read about just because it's been a hobby of mine for 15 years. But I'm going into this now, and I almost feel like when I talk to someone about it, I'm being judged on my knowledge about it, and
Yeah.
I feel like maybe I'm not, like, because I know I still have more to learn and I still have to get certified and all this stuff like that. Like I'm new to this game still, right?
Right.
But I've been in it for a while too, so it's like I feel like I'm being judged when I'm talking to people about it because they're like almost testing me, and it makes me like not nervous, but I'm almost like I feel like I'm being quizzed, or I feel like I'm being judged on how I'm answering them, and they're going to be thinking this guy has no fucking clue what he's talking about. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so it gives me this very like nervous feeling almost when I talk about it, when in reality I should be excited talking about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like I'm worried how I'm perceived because I don't want them to feel like I'm an imposter. And when you and I have talked about this before, there is a thing called imposter syndrome, and it's
100%.
you know what I mean? It's something that applies to something just like this, where you feel like you're being either looked down on or whatever because you're in your you don't feel like you're developed enough or whatever it may be, and you get this imposter syndrome within yourself that makes you feel like you don't know enough, or you're not moving fast enough, or you're being looked down on. So that's where I'm at now, man. And it's new and it's weird. It's a weird feeling. I don't know how to handle it a lot of times, but that's kind of where a lot of, like, me personally right now, where a lot of my fear comes in.
And it's interesting because with that imposter syndrome, I think a lot of people can relate to that because, say, new managers, a new job, and you're on in a meeting or a call, say if you're a teacher or a police officer, or firefighter, and you're new, right? And you kind of like, well, I did the courses, I'm certified, I did all that, but now it's like real world experience.
Right.
And like, I think what's going to happen, and what happened with me when I became a certified personal trainer, is as I got more exposure, more clients, more people that I was coaching, my confidence started going up.
Yeah.
And again, I think the key thing too is similar to this podcast is preparation. When you put in the preparation and you understand A, what makes someone tick, B, what their goals are, you can tailor something back to achieve those goals.
Yeah.
And then it's like you can really focus on the person. And I think that's what will happen. I mean, I think as you get more people or teams to coach and stuff like that, you'll get that confidence,
Yeah, man, I certainly feel that way. I just like it, and it's almost like with you too, and it's nice that you and I are doing this together and going through this together, because I know you're feeling the same way. It's like you just want the proof of your work that you can see in someone. Like you want to see results in someone else because of the work you put into them. And like I'm not there yet. And so I feel like right now when I talk about it, it's almost just like, you're a kid in the game. You know what I mean? Like, hey, little buddy,
Yeah.
good job. Here's a gold sticker for explaining to
Mm-hmm.
me about working out. You know what I mean? And it's just like, now, like, so I know you're in the same boat with me on that one. You were excited to put in work that will show and yield results day after day, where your work has meaning. Not that ours doesn't now, but it's like, there's tangible results in people. So that's where we're going to see it. So, I mean,
awesome.
there's just so much that goes into it. You have to learn how to manage it, and you have to understand that everybody has it. You know what I mean? And when I'm saying it, I mean fear. It could be a new feeling to a lot of people, and they don't know how to handle it. So, listen, like everyone who feels like they have something they're afraid of or whatever it may be, everyone's got it. You know what I mean? And everyone has their own thing. So, and you stumbled on something really cool with Brandon Bouchard on some stuff he talked about. And that's super interesting. Would you mind sharing what you kind of were reading about, the things he talked about with fear? Because it was, man, this is going to be where I think everyone kind of, your ears perk up a little bit, everybody, because this is where it gets really, really relative.
And so when we prepare for these podcasts, we like to write down like a rough agenda, if you will.
Yeah, outline or however you want to word it.
Separately, right? Yeah, exactly. So when I was going through this, Brandon Bouchard touched on 3 things when it comes to fear. The first one was loss pain. And so what he was talking about was loss pain is if you change your life, we're typically afraid that we might lose something we care about. So what does that mean? It could be we lose some time away from maybe our spouse. We lose some time maybe from hanging out with our kids. So if we start a new business, we're losing time. It stops you from taking action, though. That's the thing, is when you think about lost pain. So fear of, say, going on a diet. I freaking hate that word diet. Okay,
yeah, you do.
Style change, but fearful of going on a diet because people don't want to give up their favorite foods, right? So it's like you're afraid of losing something. So instead, he was saying focus on what you will gain. So you'll gain knowledge. So if you go on a diet, you'll gain knowledge of the foods you're supposed to eat. Plus, you won't have a regret. Okay, so that's the first one, loss pain. Second one he talked about was process pain. I thought this one was good because he said the process of change is hard. That is for sure. That's no question about that. So people are unsure of how the process will go. So you focus on the process that could be hard, right? So we're like, damn, if I start this business, if I, say want to do a master's degree, it's a 2-year degree, that's a long time. That's going to be hard. So instead focus on, make it a game, so how your skills are going to develop through this process. Similar to like our podcast, man. Like we know what we're getting ourselves into. We just want to share some knowledge, and be and make a positive, impact on the world.
Right.
The last one was outcome pain. And so with outcome pain, he was talking about that if you go through the entire change, but the grass isn't greener. So like that's what we picture. Like you go through the full change, the outcome is no better than the beginning. And you're like, what the fuck? So what we do is like, oh my God, we think about what if it's not better, so we don't change. We don't take any action.
Right.
So instead, you have to focus on, the positive outcome that can happen if you take action.
Right.
So like this podcast, if we just talked about it and didn't take action, we would have regrets.
Yep.
But now, since we've taken action, we're talking about how can we grow this more?
Yep.
How can we take further action with this? Now, could it fizzle out? I don't know. Honestly, I feel you and I have a very good head on our shoulders and we want this bad enough. We're going to keep going, and if we have to pivot, we'll pivot. But he's saying, focus on the positive outcome so you can take action. So for example, a diet, the positive outcome is you try new foods. If you're trying to stop smoking, you will have more money, and then you'll have control over your a healthier life. So
Right.
think about those things. I thought that was huge because they're all super, relative. We could relate to all of those three
Right.
steps that he was talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's like I said, guys, everyone has it. You just got to figure out where it is within you, and you may know right away, right? And I'm not saying to go search for your fear, but it's also not a bad thing to know where your fear lies. It's also not a bad thing to kind of figure it out and then kind of figure out how to either fix it or whatever it may be. And the ways that I think that the best ways that people can fix their fear is to have structure and to have a plan. Because if you kind of go into this, I have this fear, and that fear keeps you away from either accomplishing what you want to accomplish or even going towards that fear to figure it out, it's keeping you at bay, and you're not able to have a plan or any kind of structure. So once you have the structure, you have the plans, you make lifestyle changes to accomplish the things you need to accomplish to kind of conquer that fear. Well, that's going to help. You have to have faith in your lifestyle. You have to have faith in what you're building, in your plans and your days and stuff like that. So that's the best way to do it. Because if you keep it where you have a fear and then you fuel that fear, because either you're either trying to ignore it or you're trying to, if it's something that you're afraid to approach because you don't want to have it get worse, whatever it may be, it's never going to go away, and it's going to consume your life eventually. So,
what have you found that has helped you get over the fears that you've had? Like, is there anything in particular that has worked for you?
Doing this, to be honest with you, having, doing this for sure, but also like surrounding yourself with people who, and we use this term a lot on the podcast and in our lives, like-minded people. Surround yourself with like-minded people, and they give you support. They give you an energy that you need in order to attack these fears. Because if you're doing something and you have a fear and you feel like you're attacking it on your own, man, that fear feels like a mountain. But if you have like-minded people around you and you have a source of support around you, you are going towards that fear with an army, and it is a totally different mindset.
Yeah.
And you feel strong, you feel rejuvenated, you feel like you can conquer whatever it is that's in front of you. And this could be a multitude of things, but the people in your life are needed in order to conquer fears. You cannot conquer things on your own in your life. You need a support group. If it's your kids and your wife, it's your parents, if it's your grandparents, your friends, whatever it may be, you need a support group to conquer your fears. And I know I got that. So that's what's helped me a lot.
And John, honestly, I fucking love that. But what's huge that you're talking about is you're able to talk about the fears, to say, hey, this is kind of what I'm fearful of.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to say with other people, they're either like, hey, this is what maybe you could try to get over that fear. Or they might be like, dude, that's dumb. Like, you're feared for something that's so stupid, and you're kind of like, wow, that is dumb. Why am I fearful of that?
Right.
Which I think is huge when you're able to talk about your fear, because then you have others that aren't going to shit all over you, but they're going to offer you support and guidance to get over that fear,
Absolutely. Yeah. Have you ever heard of talking about fear? Have you ever heard or and I know we listen to a lot of the same things and like I said many times, you're very well read, you read a lot. So you may have heard this before, but if you can't fear anything, or you shouldn't fear anything that can't physically harm you, because you control it. Mm-hmm. You control that outcome, or however you want to word it, but you're in control of your life. So you shouldn't fear what can't hurt you, and you can't lose if you don't quit.
Yeah.
So if you have that mentality, well then, you're going to win eventually. I'm going to win because I'm not going to quit. And I'm not going to let the fear defeat me. But there's people have fears on so many things. You know what I mean? It could be like we've talked about with our accomplishments and our future goals. It could be, people have tons of fear and stresses about money in their lives. You know what I mean? Like there's solutions to problems, and you have to have we go back to a structure and a plan to find solutions to problems, which will conquer fear. So, but you should never fear something that can't hurt you, because you can control that. So
it's funny. Yeah. And it's funny you're saying that too, John. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
go right in.
I used to really get nervous and fearful of presentations with some big swinging dicks. Pardon my language there, but but I started talking about like, what's the worst case scenario? Like, am I gonna die from this?
Exactly.
No, I'm not. So like, just talking that through with myself.
Yeah.
Man, it made me so much more calm. I was able to really let my personality show through the presentation, rather than just kind of like reading shit off a slide.
Right. Exactly.
And Josh, I know our buddy Josh, kind of same thing. Like, what's the worst case scenario? Is it death? No. Good. Will you lose a lot of money? If it's potentially, maybe you reassess that.
Yeah.
But one thing I also want to talk about is every person's fear is different. Mm-hmm. And when we were talking about Bruce Lipton a couple podcasts ago, you may want to take a look at where your fear is coming from. Was it programmed at an early age? Maybe from your parents, teacher, something like that.
Right.
But what I also want to just really quickly touch on is when I was talking about, okay, is death potentially feasible? Mm-hmm. We have, police officers, firefighters, military, where that potentially might be the worst case scenario. Yeah. And that fear is real.
Right.
And so we really have to take a look at our fear and say, okay, what is the smallest action that I can take in order for me to get closer to overcoming that fear?
Yeah.
Right. And so that is what I have found that has worked for me. Like for me, is taking little steps, little action, but also recollecting on, say, for example, if it's a new job that I've just started, what are other positions that I've maybe, or other career advancements that have happened in my life where I can recollect on and say, man, I didn't think I was going to be that good at that job, but I got good at it very quickly.
Yeah.
I'm confident in my abilities here. So recollecting from your past of when you have been successful so that it kind of helps with that current fear that you're having.
No, that's a good point, man, because it goes back to things we talked about before when like you have a negative thought, overlap it with a positive thought. It's the same concept. You know what I mean? It's the same concept. So when you keep those thoughts rolling into a positive, mindset, then, that's where the success is at the end of that. So no, I love that. I think that's awesome. So with our future, because I think, and I might be crazy thinking this way, but let me ask you if you feel the same way. Do you now, having a better understanding about like fears and internally how you process fears, do you almost plan ahead for your future fears? Like, so we have future goals, we have future plans, right? And then you go, oh, but I'm going to have to do that eventually down the road. Like, do you think of things that way too?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I 100%.
Okay.
And like, you and I talk about speaking engagements.
Yes.
And it's like,
exactly.
okay, how can I sharpen my skills now in preparation for that? Right.
Right.
And so before I was like, man, I really should take some more public speaking courses, which of course I took in fucking college. Mm-hmm. But then I was like, man, you give a lot of presentations like on camera for work.
Right.
That's public speaking.
Yeah.
And then this is also public speaking as well. So I think I might have been being very critical of myself. Mm-hmm. Now, again, I think the public speaking that you and I are talking about with public engagements or speaking engagements is different than like presentations that I do and stuff like that.
Of course, right.
But I also think if it's something that you're super passionate about, if you're confident in, it's almost like you want to have those speaking opportunities to spread your message because it's positive, because you're looking to help others. It's almost different, than another speaking engagement if it's about something stupid of like
a more of a presentation feel about. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're welcoming that fear. Like you're welcoming it
Yeah.
because they're excited to talk about it, right? And I feel like that, and like there could be all right. So this could be a good example here now, or a good thought. There could be huge fears that you have too. Like your fears could be, you could have one, this, say, public speaking, right? Like
Yeah.
as an example, because that's what I'm thinking about now. You could have that fear, and it's like, oh shit, like I got to talk in front of all these people. You know what I mean? Like, oh
Yeah.
no, even though it's something you're passionate about, and you talk about it all the time, and you're confident in what you're saying, like that, all that fear, all that buildup is probably going to be gone within the first minute of that speaking engagement.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all of that for 30 seconds until you're like, I'm good now, I'm comfortable, like I got this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
amazing how that works too. The time spent in the state of fear
Yeah.
to have the payoff be 30 seconds is like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
think about that. What do you like? Teach your brain that, like, work through that before you get to the point where you're spending hours on end about within this fear state for 30 seconds. You know what I mean?
But the
Like,
other thing too is like, okay, so if we have a speaking engagement, right? And the worst case possible scenario happens. Maybe my fly's unzipped. I'm super sweaty. I'm stuttering. I'm a mess, dude. I'm a mess, right? The PowerPoint presentation, whatever, if I'm doing that, doesn't work either, right? Everything happens.
yeah, right.
The thing is, though, man, is like all that goes wrong. We've wired ourselves now to it's like, all right, that's a learning experience. I'm not going to let that stop me from continuing to take action. Right. And I think that's where people have to learn that is just a roadblock. Stop saying a failure, because failure, I fucking hate that word. And I've been dropping a lot of F-bombs on this podcast this episode. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry if
kids for children, folks.
Yeah, right. But seriously, stop using that F word. Okay, because it should be a challenge, or it should be
failure. Not the other who's been using all that podcast.
Right, exactly. Because like when you view it as a challenge or roadblock, those are temporary.
Yeah.
But when you when you're saying failure, you're putting yourself. That word is so harsh, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And you're just like you're beating yourself down so much to where it's like you don't want to take action because you're like you get that fear of failure. And that's why people don't take action either. They're afraid of that failure. You know?
And you're gonna fail. Like you're going to, like something you're trying to accomplish. You will not accomplish it the first try, second try, third try. But will you accomplish it the seventh try? And there's immense pride in that seventh or eighth try when you do succeed. So there's a lot of value in that, right? And it could be something so small too, like people who play sports, you know what I mean? Like there's fear, right? Like you're 0 for 3 at the plate that day, you know what I mean? And you're up in the bottom of the ninth, and you got to get that run in to keep the game up. And you know what I mean? So what do you go into the plate with? 0 for 3, or this is plate appearance 1 of 1, and I can get a hit here. You know what I mean? Like so there's a lot of value in that too. And trust me, I know I play men's league softball. I'm very well versed in this. Okay, so
that's awesome.
So shout out to Pepe. So
that's right.
Like, but there's so like it can be simple. It could be much larger scale about like presentations for work, like you talked about. So there's a lot that goes into it. Okay, but the biggest thing I think you and I can both get across is to have a plan, to have structure, to have a support system, and to go get that fear. Find it and expose it. If you can expose it, then guess what? You've conquered it. That means you're progressing. That means you're moving forward. You're not going backwards. You're succeeding. And then you got to wait for that next fear to come down the hill because it's coming. But now you know. Now you know how to handle it.
And let's be real. Fear is a part of life. Fear is a part of life. It's not going anywhere. But it's about how you can embrace that fear to where you can take action on it. Yeah. And my recommendation, in my opinion, what has worked for me the most is when I feel that fear creeping in, and I know it's based upon people's perspective or what they may think, which I know I have zero control over. Yeah, it's don't let that stop me from taking action. Right. So take little steps. Yep. But as far as say for a new career or a new business or something, think about your past and when you've taken a similar step and you've been successful. that will kind of ease that fear because you've been there before.
Yeah.
So again,
no question.
Focus on your past.
Yeah, absolutely, man. All right, guys. Well, this was, I think, a step in the right direction for those who may not understand fear the best. Hopefully it helped a little bit. Again, these are things that we talk about on a weekly basis that work for BG and I. Okay. This isn't us saying do these things and it'll work, guaranteed. This is just saying, all right, okay, we've done this, we've tried this, it's worked. Let's pass this on. It could help somebody else, right? So we hope these conversations help. Certainly today, we hope this one helped too. As always, thank you so much for listening. This is episode 8 of the Model Mindset. We will catch you guys next week for episode 9.
See you.